Please welcome WYNTON MARSALIS.
Thank you all very much. Welcome. We're here to be a resource for you in your time here. We always want to encourage you just to recognize that your fellow students will be perhaps the greatest teachers you will have in this time. We always encourage you to meet other people from other bands, meet people who play your instrument, and others. It's hard for brass players to want to fraternize with woodwind. We understand that. If it's too much for you, meet rhythm section members. Okay, so we're set up, and we're here to answer questions that you may have about music. We're here to play. We really are here to help you in any way that we can and give you information. It's not about winning a competition. We're going to all grow and develop as musicians through the entirety of our lives. You will always be a musician. I don't want to see people later talking about, oh, I used to play this and that. Always keep playing. And this music is always going to be a part of you, and music will always be a part of you, as it has been for all of us up here. You don't have to just direct your questions to me. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have. I'm very proud of all of you. I know a lot of work went into coming to this point. I'm looking forward to hearing you all play. It's always an honor and a privilege for me to hear we're going into our 21st year. I can't believe that we've been doing it this long, but I know I'm going to have to. Last year, a band was playing so good, I actually teared up and started to cry. Jeff Hamilton looked at me, they were playing their music from memory. Jeff Hamilton looked at me and said, "What? Nobody taught these kids how to read?" So for us, it's very personal, and we come at you with a lot of feeling and love. We want the very best for you, not just as musicians or members of a band, or a band who wins, or a person who can play on chord changes, or who people can say this person can play or they cannot play, but as a human being, because ultimately that's what our music is about, human growth and development. I'm honored. It's a pleasure to play with these gentlemen. I've known most of them for, I don't know, so many years. Some even I taught when they were kids, and they wear me out. But for me, it's an honor to know them and to see them in their growth and development. They're all so many great arrangers and teachers, and it's been a blessing for me in this portion of my life to have the opportunity to play with them. We have one youngster up here who was in the EE a couple of years ago, Sam Chess on the trombone. And we have someone who up here who was in the very first EE, Mr. Carlos Enriquez on the bass. We're open for questions. Don't be shy. We have 2 microphones, so we only need one person to be first. Well, this is going to be easy. Okay. Okay. There you go.
How does the competitive aspect of this festival relate to the natural beauty of making music and music itself?
I like that question because I want to make something, it's a point we just talked about in a luncheon with Charlie Rose, is that what makes life sweet is death. That's how it does that. Like there's always a desire, there's become a desire in our country and by and large for something to happen, but there never to be an aspect of it that's painful. There are painful aspects of things. Losing is one of the most painful things. Not the loss of something trivial like a competition, loss of life. We deal with that. People are dying every day. Sometimes we lose children. Now, I'm saying it's something that serious to put losing a competition in perspective. Competition makes us better. Everybody's not built for competition. Some people don't want to compete. Nobody makes a person compete. But look at some Wild Kingdom videos. This competition is out here. There's no way around it. And I don't try to make light of it. I've been in competitions my life. I've experienced the pain of losing and the joy of victory. But it's a music competition. But what's at stake? Nothing really is at stake. We play and we get better. We hear other people can play. We have a natural competitiveness. There's destructive competition, and there's positive competition. I play in a trumpet section every night. I'm trying to play. Play with Ryan Kaiser. I'm sitting next to him. I hear him play stuff. I say, I better step my playing up. You know, and on and on. I think we all experience that. Maybe another person can speak about it. Because we all, of course, all have different philosophies about it also. Does somebody else want to contribute to?
Well, for me, the competition is just an excuse for us all to get together and be together and do something. That's all.
I'm with Ted too. I'm not really so much we have to judge, we have to say things, but for me, I look at the kids overall. Okay, we played with Sam Chess. I didn't know we were gonna play with him when I heard him. I loved him when I first saw him. He was in high school. I always would tease him and say, I want to hug him. He had such a personal way of playing, but it could go for any of us. You know, we all are somebody's daughter, son, kid. I'm somebody's son and daughter. It's a cycle, and we look at it that way. I like your tie, son. Yes. Yes.
Do you still ever get nervous for a performance? And how do you mentally prepare yourself for performances?
I'm nervous now. But I'm nervous because I hope I don't get dizzy, and that's why I'm holding on to this mic stand. I have a vertigo. Sometimes I get on the stage, I just have to hold on to a mic stand or something. Yes, I get nervous. We were doing we were doing a class in St. Louis in where was it? It was outside of Ferguson, in Missouri. And a little kid came up at the end and he asked us the question in Normandy, the Normandy School District, Susan Rudin. And a little kid came up and he asked, do y'all ever get nervous? And one of our members said, yeah, I get nervous. So the little kid said, he said, yeah, I get nervous too, but I'm still up here. And I think, did he summarize it? Yeah, we get nervous, that's a part of being alive, but we get up here. So I mean, I've been on stage for a long time. So it's not like when I was younger, when I thought every performance was the most important thing that ever happened on the history of Earth. Now I realize that all of the performances together are the most important thing that ever happened on the history of the planet Earth. So that gives me a lot more perspective. So I find that the best thing to do when you're nervous is to accept your nerves and to breathe. Maybe some other members have a different, but I find that when a person says they're not nervous or they're not going to be nervous, I always say you're going to have a hard time when you really get nervous because you don't control it, it controls you. You have to control it by accepting it and moving through it. That's just what I think, but does somebody else have a different perspective?
Yeah, one small thing. And also, the more prepared you are, you practice the part, then there's really nothing than the normal sort of stage jitters. Once you start playing, everything falls into place.
Another thing that helps is breathing. Take deep breaths, and also look around at other members. You're not alone. We all are playing together in this instance of something like a big band. So that nervousness is spread out amongst everybody. Yes, we're nervous. Yes, we're all together. We will come out of this with our lives. I think, that's what I breathing is important too. Yes, you good? You all right? Is that okay? You didn't like that? Okay, I'll do better next time. Yes.
So this one's definitely a little less deep, but Stay On It, were those just straight lip trills, or more like, was there an aspect of horn shakes to it with the trumpets? Oh, can you hear me now? Are we good? Okay. Stay On It, were those lip trills or horn shakes? And do you have any, I guess, wise info for either? Okay.
I like to shake the horn a little bit. Just
Any questions?
Hey, don't laugh. That was a lot of explanation for him. I've been playing with him for 20-something years. That was a lot of talking just took place.
Let me add to that. Hey. Let me add to that. Now, just looking at the difference in size between the trumpet and the trombone, trombones don't have to shake their horns to do lip trills. So when we have a lip trill with them, it's wasted motion if we try to shake our horns to actually do it. More of a lip trill. So just for our trombone players, even if they do it, you don't have to shake your horn because it ends up.
That's why they don't sound as good. You notice he didn't give a demonstration. I want you to notice that our section leader played. That's the difference between trumpet.
I missed that one. What was that?
So that's true.
When you play something that small, it's easy to shake it.
Next question. So you see what it's like. That's why we're not nervous. And we'll be going to the concerts where people be nervous. We'll be doing that right before we play.
So I know that Ryan Kaiser's been playing lead in this band for a long time, but I also know that Seneca Black was one of the original players. What is it like, the differences between playing with those two and how, yeah.
Okay, the first thing is the first lead player that we had was Lou Soloff. Okay, he's...
Yeah.
And if you don't know who he was, for all of us, he passed away last year. And I mean, Ryan, me, John Faddis, it doesn't make a difference. He was so instrumental in all of our development. And he was such a great musician and such a great trumpet player. So the tradition of that chair starts with Lou. And we tease Lou all the time because he liked to play 15 mouthpieces in one performance. So we would do that. And Ryan played second for a long time. And we went through a series of lead players. Seneca came and he played lead. He was very young, one of our youngest members. But Seneca could play really high, was very dedicated to playing and could play and brought a lot to the band. Ryan is a soloist. And I never really thought of Ryan playing lead. We had 3 or 4 lead players that came in. We're struggling with the lead, and Sean had played lead for a while. And one day Ryan said he would play lead. I don't remember exactly how it happened. We were in rehearsal. Right, we had Roger Ingram played. We had Jesse McGuire played lead. Faddis played a couple of times, but never in the band regular. So we had great musicians and great lead players. And Ryan said he would play lead, and then he played a song, and Sherman and everybody started turning around saying, what happened? See if Ryan will do it. So I'm figuring who wants to play lead if they can play a solo? Already you play in a big band, you play one solo a night, maybe. And Ryan is one of our best soloists. And he said he would play lead, and that's a hard job. For a soloist, generally, lead players to have that type of subtle and nuanced understanding, that's unusual. And now we have a lead player that's like a soloist leading the band. So for us, and when he started playing lead, it was very natural. He had been in the band almost since the beginning. And, he has a different way of phrasing, and we follow him. So far as assessing how it's different, it's a different whole feel and a different way of playing. I won't put a hierarchy on it. I don't say this was good or this was better, this was worse. We follow either way. When Seneca was playing, Ryan and I followed him, and Marcus did too. So of the trumpet section, Marcus, Ryan, and I have been playing now 23? 23 years we've been playing together. And just the type of respect and love we have for each other after all of that time. You know, you hear all these kind of stories of people dislike other people. But for me, I'm honored to play under his lead. It's an honor for me to do that. And I know Kenny and Marcus feel the same way. And we try to play with him and we follow our lead. And we tease each other in rehearsal. Sometimes we say the saxophones don't like their lead. So Sherman got to force them to play with him. We're playing around, of course. We're joking. It's all joke. We really are joking and playing because we all have tremendous respect for each other. As a matter of fact, when Wes left the band, Ted said, if you can't get Sherman or somebody who plays like that, of which there are two people, I will play lead or I'm going to quit. And he wasn't saying it to be jive. He was just saying, hey, man, I'm a certain age. I want to play under people, somebody who can play. And if not, I'll play lead. But it's not like I want to play lead. It doesn't matter to me who's playing lead, but we have to have a player who can play. So I asked Sherman if he would do it, and he said, yeah, and Ted was happy. And we write arrangements. We can write ourselves on lead. We can do whatever we want to do, you know. And our band, it functions a little different because we all write for each other. We play different leads. Ryan carries almost all of the lead weight in the trumpet section. Every now and then we'll play lead. Our show be so hard. But we have a love for each other. And Seneca came back last year and played a show with us. We played with Ruben Blades. Seneca came and played on that show, and we loved having him because we have a tradition in our band. And the bottom line on that tradition is respect. So that's a long answer, but that's what it is. But I'm going to conclude that by saying, for us in the trumpet section, we love our lead because it feels good playing with him. Let me tell you something. A lot of times when I tell him something, it's not even the fantastic parts. It'll be a whole note. He'll play a whole note with so much musicality. It'll be something nobody would notice. But, you know, and two, his father, band director, his brother can play. He comes from that kind of tradition. He was in the Midwest in Iowa playing all these dance band gigs all through high school. And it's the tradition, the kind of American tradition of playing that he's come up in. And he knows that tradition very well. And he can play all different types of music, too. Different styles and so on and so forth. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. And I want you to understand, what I'm telling y'all is not a for public statement. Like, we say that to each other. We were in rehearsal the other day. We recorded Stay On It. So I didn't like the way we sounded on Stay On It. I said, we should do another take of it. So I said, y'all, let's listen to it. And Sherman and them listened to it. And I only talked to Sherman. He came back. I said, what do you think? He said, Ryan Kaiser. So that's it. I said, so should we keep that take? He said, that means keep going. Now, how we got that was, because sometimes when I mess a part up, I'll look over at Ali, because I sit next to Ali. And Ali, keep in mind, I taught Ali when he was 12 or 11 or when he was a kid. So if I mess up a part and I look at Ali, he goes. So we start doing that, you know, let's move on. Yes.
So what advice do you have for somebody who wants to teach this music, for somebody who wants to be a music educator and go on and do what all of our wonderful directors do?
You got to love kids. You know, that's the bottom line foundation. You have to love them. And you have to want to teach them enough for you to continue to learn about the meaning in it. The most important thing you can teach kids, if you're a director, is the meaning of the thing that you're teaching. What is the meaning of this? What's the meaning of it? It's not to be like a robot and play a part and come and win some competition, meaningless competition. What's the meaning of this? And I think if you love kids, you have that feeling for them, like many of your directors definitely have that and have given so much. I'm not going to even say many. To get to this point, all have to have it. That's what I think. Maybe some other gentleman, Marcus?
So do you teach lessons now to anyone?
Say again?
Do you teach lessons now to anyone?
Yeah, I have a couple students.
Keep doing that. Just teach someone now. Just get into the habit of imparting your wisdom upon them, and it'll grow.
I think for many of us, our tradition comes from a tradition that you're in right now when I think about Wynton. And many of us from New Orleans of our generation, we all studied with his dad and with the whole community of New Orleans, in fact, and they all played with us. So every band director who influenced me sat down and played with me. And that's a very important thing. So when I look at your band directors, I suspect that all of them, and I've been to many of the schools when I think about it, they've sat down and invested a tremendous amount of time and love beyond the 9 to 5. I know a lot of you guys get together at 7 in the morning to rehearse. Y'all rehearse at 8 o'clock at night. Y'all do it by any means necessary. And if you're going to be a music educator, you got to realize it's 365, 12, 24, 7. To the smallest part of it that you can possibly give to. You always on call to your students. You know, so, and the greatest amount of teaching happens after hours, not within the hours, but beyond that particular time that you're obligated by some school district or institution or something like that.
And also it's in the quality of music you get your students to play. Those are things the kids want to play this. Hey, okay, I want to eat candy. I don't want to eat food at all. I want to be on my phone for 5 hours. I don't want to study this stuff. I want to get on the computer. Somebody got to be an adult. If you're the teacher, you're the adult. So I think that's another important component is quality of music. And you want your students to be inspired to strive for the very highest possible level. I had a teacher in high school named George Jansen. He passed away. He was my private trumpet teacher. What could I say about him? He had a stroke, so it's very difficult to hear him when he talked. And he lost the ability to play. But if I would play America the Beautiful in my lesson, you got to imagine it's just me and him sitting in some room in Loyola University. I would play America the Beautiful. He would stand up and put his hand on his chest. That's how serious he was. He would conduct me playing some cornet solo. Man, I have to laugh thinking about it. The Bride of the Waves, you think he was in Carnegie Hall conducting somebody. Once again, I would just think, does he know that this is like 11:30 on Saturday? But now I'm 54 years old, and I'm thinking right now about Mr. Jansen and the vibration he was on about excellence. So that's important to have that feeling toward your students. Yes, I like you. Yes, I'm cool with you. Come here with this work next week. That's also a component of it. You know, the level you set for them. Set a high level, set a high bar. And that indicates a level of love, too.
And also consistency, because Mr. Jansen did that 11 o'clock on Sunday, but then I actually played in one of his other bands, and when we played Stars and Stripes Forever, and when he got to the last chorus, he turned around and saluted the audience. So he was consistent.
That was him. You know, so he was for real. Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
Hello?
Hey, now.
All right, so for most of the history of the music of jazz and music in general, technology was a non-factor because it didn't exist. And, you know, I don't think anybody can disagree that technology can be a tremendous tool for listening and for, you know, meeting other people. But it seems to me like, you know, also the invention of technology has taken away an interpersonal element from, you know, in between musicians. You know, it used to be that the only way to hear somebody play was, I mean, maybe through a record, but to go see them, to go talk to them, and you heard of somebody from, you know, through a friend, through word of mouth, but now interactions can happen between people who live thousands of miles away, and, you know, people have been reduced to, from a human to blocks of information that are just kind of floating around on the web. Do you think that technology has a positive or negative effect on the music? And also, do you think it's possible to be a young musician without being technology savvy?
Hey, I'm going to answer, I'm going to let that first. I believe in technology. Freddie Kepler could have been the first musician to record, jazz musician. He chose not to do that. Was he intelligent to make that choice? Because there's always been technology. There's always been technology because there's always been warfare. And because people are always trying to figure out how can we better kill other people, they're figuring out technological things. And if you study a lot of our technology, you're going to see a lot of it is connected to the military in some way. Yeah. When the piano was developed, people, man, the piano is not like a harpsichord. Yeah, it's not. This is not like that. Photography is a great example. When people first saw photography, they would normally see images which at that time were considered to be semi-pornographic images. Of course, what we do today is not, it's not believable. But by those standards, then people started to think that that was what photography was. Oh, we don't like photography because photography is this. Should we stop taking pictures? I think a young person should be as tech savvy as they can possibly be. I believe that technology offers so much greater possibility. There's so many things that can be achieved through the ability to communicate with greater clarity and to communicate yourself to a larger number of people and to learn. So I'm a firm believer in it. One thing you must understand about the arts is the technology of the human soul does not change. And it has not changed as long as we have a recorded history where human beings talked about how they felt. You can have all the technology in the world, it's not going to make you be able to play. It's just not. It's internal. And that's why Shakespeare is still great. He's great. Was thinking about something, was feeling something. And when you read that and you think about it, you say, damn, he knew about that back then? Yeah. I once went to an Etruscan, I saw they had some graffiti from the Etruscans in a museum in Bologna. So I went to see, I was at this museum in Bologna, and I was looking at something, man, this is from almost the dawn of civilization, people writing on a graffiti board. Let me go see what they were talking about. Whatever the name was, does not love me. So-and-so has a big head. Blah, 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 stole from so-and-so. Such and such is a liar. I said, okay, I see. So that's what we're doing with technology too. Does that, anybody want to? So technology is great. What we do with it is up to us. That's my feeling. I mean, you're not happy with that. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's what I think. All right, I'm with you. Yes, sir.
So all of you up here, up there, play with lots of passion and emotion, and I know the majority of us, including myself, try to emulate and have that musical passion. And the more that I get into the music and the passionate and emotion aspect of it, I tend to want to like dance while I'm playing, and I find myself like moving with the phrasing and just the song itself. But what confuses me is that like I've watched a lot of the videos of Jazz Ellington Center, and like with music, it's I don't know, it's just physically it's very reserved watching you guys, and so I just wanted to see if you could clarify whether that's just like maturity. If I were to get older, then I would just like. Or if it's just like some, I don't know, but I hope you know what I'm trying to ask.
Right. Well, I'm going to let Carlos can answer because he grew up playing a lot of dances. But Tony Williams once told me that he noticed the people who played the best moved the least. Bird didn't move a lot, Miles didn't move a lot, Coltrane did not move a lot. He said he also noticed they did not tap their feet. And he said the reason he thought they didn't tap their feet is that anytime you're moving, whatever rhythm you play is then a polyrhythm with that motion. So you're trying to concentrate everything into playing that music so the people can dance. But I think of us up here, Carlos probably played more dances. I played a lot of dance, but it was funk music, it wasn't jazz. Carlos grew up playing dances. Maybe he has a perspective on moving around when you're playing and dancing.
I don't know if you hear me. I dance when I play. I don't know why you haven't seen that, but I usually move when I play. You know, when I started out playing at the age of 14, 15, I was doing professional gigs in New York City, playing at all these big, dance clubs and stuff. And, the type of music that I was playing wasn't jazz. It was, Afro, Latin music. And, we had a tradition of dancing on stage and stuff like that. It's, your internal time is the one that has to be dancing. You have to really have that internal clock and dance going on at all times. So even if you don't visualize it or show it to people, it doesn't really mean anything as long as it's working and moving internally. All of us up here have very, very good time. It's unbelievable. And, and we fight for like milliseconds in terms of differences, and we'll go at it really hard. And when other people listen to it, they can't tell the difference. So, the dancing is all, it's good to dance and move around. You want to show people that you're having fun. And I agree with you. Sometimes, I've seen the band itself, us play, and sometimes we look like a block sometimes, but it doesn't per se like show that we're not having fun. It's inside, we're moving, and we're doing so much. So if that's what you do, I would say to continue, and try to bring as many people involved and have them enjoy the dancing too.
Thank you very much.
Hey.
All right now.
So I've noticed that there's a lot of musicians, especially younger musicians, that are extremely concerned with how good or how bad they sound. And there's a lot of people who believe that if you simply just let go of that care for how you sound and just play whatever comes out, that you'll sound a lot better. But for me, I'm always like constantly checking myself, like so that I can really compare myself, like from, I don't know, I'm trying to word this in a good way, but in order to help my development, I'm always like seeing where I am. And I just wanted to know like where you stand on that.
Well, first, we're talking about music. So, music is an art, the medium of which is sound. So if we don't listen to the sounds we make, how do we know if it blends with our lead player, if rhythmically it's in the right spot? We always must actively listen. So you never, ever stop listening to your tone and how everything that you do relates to the whole. So it's, if you stop listening, I think you've sort of lost the battle for me.
Okay, and I think you're talking about comparing yourself. Every one of us is different. Some people compare themselves and they can do that and they're okay. Another person compares themselves and they're neurotic. Another person doesn't care, they let go and they're sad. Another person is tight, they let go, man, you sound good, do that some more. There's no rule about it. Everything is kind of a balance between you and yourself. If a person does not really know you well, it's difficult for them to know what you need to do. This music can teach you a lot about yourself. I know for me, I always rushed. So I grew up playing with my brother, Branford. I would always say, am I Russian? He would say, Brezhnev. Hey, man, this sound like I was Russian? Brezhnev, man. He started naming Russians. Said, yeah, you're Russian. You know, so, you know what I mean? Yes, you are rushing. So the music we all have different things. Like for me, I always loved I love my father. Like I wanted to play and make him proud. I didn't feel the need to somebody has a different family situation, they have a different feeling. And I feel like I've always felt a certain thing about other musicians. I never felt a jealousy towards them. I grew up with people who could play. I liked them. So they like to talk a lot, always this one can't play, and always be somebody who could play, they were saying couldn't play. I'd be like, well, if they can't play, what does that make you? You know, but my personality is different. I have other insecurities. So we all have things that we work with, and we work with it in our own way. We all have, does that make sense? So you have to find the balance that's best for you. And I find just as a basic thing, the better musicians you listen to, the better you will be. So leave your sphere. One thing that happens to a culture when it is in decline, its highest level is extremely low, like our politics. Right? It's just true. But I wanna say that we like to place it on our politicians. But I'm gonna leave y'all with a question I ask students a lot of times. It's who can tell me what the United States Constitution is designed to do? And you know the answer I get most times? Say what? When I asked students recently on voting day, how many of us are of voting age? They were college students. A lot of students raised their hands. When I said, how many of us have voted or intend to vote? And then before they raised their hands, I say, be honest. So what you put into something is what you get out of it. So ultimately, it's on you to determine. But listen to great people, and you'll become a better musician.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Was there ever a time in any of your lives where you thought you wanted to stop playing, or you thought about quitting music or leaving your musical life behind, and then came back to music, obviously, because you're all here? And what was that story like? Or what brought you back into the music world?
No. You know, you go through stages in life. As a young child, you become a teenager, you know, then you develop situations in life. You have a family, bills, you start working. It looks good when you're young. When things start popping, you have a lot of kids, you have a house, you know, parents, unfortunately, start passing away, things are different. You know, there comes a time in your life where you have to be really focused. And at some time in that process, yeah, you start thinking, man, should I have not done this? Or should I have been a banker? Or maybe I should have done this gig. Or maybe I should have taken this gig or something. It's a natural process that you go through as a young musician or any young thing that you do. You start thinking and you start betting that things will be different on the other side of the fence. And, you know, most of the time it's not. But you have to have faith in what you do, and you have to really believe in what you do and continue that, because in the long run, it'll pay off. You know, sometimes what happens as a young musician, and I've experienced, is that you think that you're going to be glorified or your glorification is going to happen at a very young age. And sometimes that doesn't happen until probably after you're dead. And you don't see that as it happens. You know, you got to continue to fight with learning and producing other students and sharing your knowledge with everyone else. So that happens. And I'm sure everyone up here has, you know, hit the wall for a minute and said, man, I should have done something else. But you just got to fight through it, and just, if you really love what you do and believe, you should be able to pass that wall and go to the next one.
You know, just one more thing on that. For many people, their vocation is what they do, but for others, the lucky ones, it's who you are.
Yeah, it happens. And then you reach a midlife crisis. You got a ways to go. Don't worry about that yet. I'm not going to even burden you with the thought of it. I'm just going to tell you it's real. Yes.
So my question is, as like a young musician or as a leader in like the context of a band or just in general, how do you kind of balance like wanting to encourage other people to play the music of jazz and supporting other people who are playing the music as jazz with like wanting other people to work hard and wanting to push other people to get better?
Who wants to? Walter?
The two are synonymous. Playing jazz is all about getting better because it's based on improvisation. And so in order to do something well, you got to work at it. You have to practice. So I'm not sure if that was exactly what your question was, but if you want to try to encourage people as a leader or as a part of a group to get better through playing jazz, practice, you know. Even if what you're doing is not music, the fact that you have this experience is what makes you a better person even when you do other things. And that's why it's important that we're all here, even though some of you might become musicians and some of you may not. The fact that you try your best at something is what makes you a greater person. So if you could convey that through example, through trying your best, not that you have to actually be the best at what you do, but the fact that you try your best helps you to realize your own personal potential, and that spreads like an infection in a positive way. So the person next to you says, wow, man, I can see she's really trying her best, and I like that. I want to try my best too. That's another form of positive and healthy competition as well.
If I may add to that, trust is a factor. You know, especially being a leader, if you instill, and also knowing what you want in terms of what your sound, of your ideal sound of what your band wants, of what your band is. You have to know what you want and then convey it to your other bandmates in some way, form, or fashion, whether it's by example or whether it's by telling them and you know, just letting them know, pointing things here and there. And then, you know, as you told them, you know, just trust that your other bandmates, and also trust yourself. You know, trust that they're gonna get everything together, you know, by a certain time or what have you. If you have a deadline, great. If not, so be it. But trust is a major factor, and it'll also be evident when you all are playing together, and when you trust all your bandmates, and the time, trust the rhythms, trust that they're gonna lead you in a certain direction, and you know, especially during solos and improvisation and playing ensemble parts, all that is important. So trust.
And Walter actually used the word example up in there, but to make it even clearer, to lead by example. You know, if you want somebody to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do something for you, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do it with them. You want them to travel around the world with you, don't send them out, do all the grunt work beforehand, and then come out and celebrate the positivities of it. Be out there and do the grunt work with them. You lead by example, people will follow by example. If you want them to be great, you be great. That will make them want to be great. I've seen this man to my far right on the bandstand. He's been a talented person on many, many bandstands, but he's never let his quality of playing sink down. He always lifted up. So you have to lift people up that are around you. And if you're lucky, they'll lift you up as well.
And another thing is you have to recognize people. I mean, I've made the point, we have different relationships. Okay, Victor and I went to kindergarten together. When I look at the band, we have so many great musicians. If I'm gonna lead a band of people who can play this well, they wanna play the music. If the music is about me, I mean, they'll play it, but it's like if I can't, Chris Crenshaw can just hear anything. I'm gonna give you a prime example of it. Man, you play with a band with him. Let's say you're looking at something. You can't actually hear it. He really can hear it. You're in front of the band, and you say it's a G. He says, that's an F sharp. He's probably right. Now, the band is looking at you, so what do you cling to? It's a G when you know he knows it's an F sharp, and they all know it too. You got to know how to say, yeah, you know, it's probably an F sharp, because Chris heard it. Another example with us, I just give you examples in the band. I'm notoriously not good at counting off tempos and notoriously a sad conductor. When I went in front of the band to conduct, at this time, Wes Anderson was playing alto, and every time I miss a cue, he would look down into the stand and go, get back in the trumpet section. Now, before I count a tune off, I'm gonna look at Ali. Ali, what is the tempo for this? I'll ask Ryan, what is the tempo of this one? Or Chris, what is the tempo for it? We all know. We all know what each other's challenges. I'm the lead. I can't play off. Now, in our band, it's different because we all lead different. If Sherman writes music, he's leading. If Ted does a show, he's leading. So we all work for each other. And this is the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra. I'm one of the founders of it, but eventually I won't be here, and we will still be here. So also take your age relationship to musicians who happen to be. Okay, I sit next to a person who I'm supposed to be XX on the trumpet, great, I can play all this. He can play stuff I can't play. We all know that. We sit in the same section. And sometimes I will ask him, how would you play that? I'm not asking him that to patronize him. Then he says, I would play it like this. Okay, for me, Marcus, Kenny, we all relax because that's what it is. The truth is what it is. It doesn't need to be, and it's hard to be truthful all the time. It's hard, it's a difficult, at one point between Ali and Walter and I knew them since they were kids, so I was used to talking to them like they were 12 or 13 years old. At a certain point, they were tired of that. So they were like, look, man, you don't address us like this. Hey, well, that's hard for me, too, because I'm used to, man, what y'all mean? I'm not talking to y'all no kind of way. What do y'all, hey, we're telling you, you're doing this and that. Look, let me know when I'm doing that to y'all. Okay, it's going to take me a while. I'm used to doing this a certain way. Okay, over the course of those years, this 4 or 5 year period, you have to make a lot of adjustments. It can't just be about what you want to do. You know, and these are human things that's a part of being everything in life. Whether you're a parent, any of us who are parents, we get to a certain age, our kids are no longer 12 or 13. You got to be like, you know what I mean? And that's one thing Art Blakey always said. He said, to be a leader, you have to have gigs. If you don't have a gig, you're not a leader. He said, number 2, pay people on time. Even though he didn't always do that. Pay people on time. That was his number 2. The other thing, I'm gonna rephrase it. I'm not gonna use the same words he used. You have to be able to let people cuss you out and say you're not anything. So to create an environment where they feel free to work with you, because if they got to follow you like they're in some type of camp, they're not gonna wanna work with you, not playing jazz. And that was his thing that you have to do. So I think that's kind of what I think with the cats.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Nick Chard. I'm from Byron Center High School. The answer to this question might only be with Mr. Jackson, but if it's not, it's cool because the more input, the better. But I've found that the biggest struggle that I've had with my playing is being able to accurately convey my emotions as being a percussionist. And from my perspective, it's been due to the fact that drums don't have specific pitches that can relate to the key of a chart. Because I found when I'm listening to music and it's in a specific key and then a certain note is played, it conveys a certain emotion. Like going from a song that's in a major key to a minor key, people would interpret it differently, but I personally interpret minor keys as having a more dark kind of feel to it. And I was just wondering if there's any way to better convey my emotions through specifically rhythms.
That's a very interesting question. Do you have perfect pitch?
No.
Okay, because I was going to hand the mic to Mr. Crenshaw. You have to get inside of the intention of the song or the piece or the composition, whatever it is that you're playing. Generally, every composition has a certain kind of framework, a melodic structure, a harmonic structure that leads you in a direction, whether it's a happy tune, whether it's a sad tune. The tempo of a song also depicts the mood of a tune. So those are the primary things. So you have to fit whatever the emotion you want to express inside of that. It's kind of difficult to say, let's say it's a minor tune. You can play happy or inspired, but maybe that character doesn't fit with the music. So you always have to think about what is the character of the music and the musicians that you're playing with to bring that kind of energy to propel that. I don't know if that helps.
Oh yeah, it does. Thank you.
Say something. As you asked that question, I started thinking about trumpet players too, but trombone players and our plungers and how we use like different positions and the way we hold it to convey different feelings and emotions. I think the same thing can hold true in drum and percussionists as well. You know, just the way a certain piece of equipment is struck. Like you wouldn't play your drum the same way in a passage, especially when you're improvising. You switch up. Like you don't play your drum the same way every time, don't you? You strike it soft, you strike it hard sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in a tune, if something is about to switch, you have to convey that as a drummer, as a percussionist. There's some way that you have to let them know that the next phrase is coming up. Whether it's striking on an offbeat or striking somewhere where it's unexpected. There's more ways that you can convey that, as a drummer.
If Mr. Jackson was playing what we call a New Orleans function, for instance, when he plays the dirge part of it, he wants to evoke the emotion of death or sadness. He takes the snares off the snare drum. If he wants to get to the happier part, which is the celebratory part that a person is going to a better day, he puts the snares on, he plays in a happier way. And he's got a whole vocabulary of ways he can do that for songs as well as forms inside of songs. And actually, when he plays, I actually hit pitches because he reaches out and goes beyond the barriers of what the norm is for whatever the drums can do. And I try to go into his world to hear in a way that takes it out of the non-pitch category. So I hear all the melodies he play up in there. I hear the harmonies he's playing by articulating the forms. There's a lot that he's doing. The question is, are you listening to him close enough to be able to hear it? And are you actually articulating what you're trying to do clear enough for people to hear what you're trying to do?
I think they summed it up. I think it's very important this is for all drummers. It's important to understand harmony. So if you don't have harmony in your parts, or if you don't have the melody or some kind of sensibility of the tune, your responsibility is to shape the music. So you're basically a conductor. You have to know the music. It's because that's the essence of our music and jazz music. The drums is at the center of the music. So it doesn't mean that you're overpowerful or overbearing, but it means that you have conviction. It's kind of like a quarterback on a team. You don't have to be the best athlete, but you got to be a leader. And it doesn't mean you got to be yelling at people, let's go, ah! And it doesn't mean you have to be really passive and not say anything, but it is you demonstrate it by your character and by example. So you're the essence of the band. There's all kind of different sayings about drums or drummers. You know, if the drummer is noticeable, then generally he's probably not that good. But when you don't notice the drums and the band sounds really good, that's when you know that's a good drummer. They don't stick out. They blend in.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay. I think, too, if you listen to different drummers, every drummer has a different emotion. To get deep into what you're saying, it's important for us in the festival to see always better drummer. Because I sit next to Jeff Hamilton, he's always talking about the drummers. Think about the sound of Art Blakey, Philly Joe. I've been lucky in my time of playing to play with the greatest drummers. Very close with Elvin, played with Philly Joe, played with Art Blakey. Once sat with a bunch of drummers in Italy, Buddy Rich, Philly Joe Jones, Art Blakey, Max Roach. Those are all the greatest drummers. It's interesting for a trumpet player to be around all those drummers. First, how funny they were. Well, Shelly Manne was real funny, too. He's like a comedian. And the type of respect and reverence they all had for Max Roach. And Elvin would always say how many different characters Max could play with, and how Max is the modern drums, and how Max, you know, the way you strike any instrument is your disposition, and that has an emotion to it. Even how you smile at me has an emotion. Even you could be frowning and I still not be mad at you. Billy Higgins, you know, is to understand the depth of your instrument. Many times we don't understand the depth of the drums. That is a deep instrument. That's the one instance where technology is not better. A drum machine will never be better than a drummer, ever. A drummer is just something. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm from the San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts. And the festival we're at right now is called Essentially Ellington, right? So
That's right.
How do we really pay homage to Ellington and his music while still remaining true to our own selves and our own style of music?
His music is your style of music. He's a foundation of this country's music. It's not possible to be in our country and his music not to be a part of your music. That's not it's the language we're speaking. Now, if we were in India or if we're in Japan, that may not be true. Every group of people, it's kind of like if you talk with a Russian about Pushkin. Boy, they love some Pushkin. Pushkin, Pushkin, Pushkin. You hear about Pushkin all the time. Now, for us, we don't really know about, yeah, Pushkin, okay. That was the black dude that was Russian, right? Pushkin. But to them, he represents something in the evolution of their language. Duke Ellington occupies a central place in the development of our language. If we speak that language with any degree of sophistication or insight, we must necessarily be speaking some of him.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.